Tonight in this Dharma talk, I would like to speak about one-pointedness in the practice of self-inquiry, or Atma Vichara. Yet before heading into the topic of one-pointedness, I must begin at the beginning. In the beginning was the existential opening. For there must have been a dramatic or gradual transformation in our self-understanding such that the possibility insinuated itself into us, that possibility being that I do not know myself, or I may not know myself. Before then, I took myself for granted, believing and feeling that I knew who I was. The existential opening, a blessing in disguise, revealed to me a doubt. Perhaps I do not know what I think I am. Perhaps I do not know what I feel myself to be. I have a sense of myself, but I do not have knowledge of my essential being. Thus, it can be said that an existential opening precisely opens up a crack deep within us, a fissure, a split, revealing an aparia, a cluelessness, a confusion, a sense of being turned about, even a pathlessness. Only in this way is it actually impossible to think that self-inquiry is a practice worth engaging in. Clearly, I do not need to inquire, who am I, if I dogmatically assert that I know who I am. Nor is it the case that I need to inquire into who I truly am if it is actually the case that I know myself, that is, that I am established in the source, as the source. And self-inquiry is beautifully positioned in no man's land. It is between dogmatism and actual knowledge. It is right here in the beautiful land of humble openness, in the land of genuine ignorance. After we have been existentially opened, then the question can arise. The question, who am I, can arise. It needn't take too much philosophical contemplation to arrive at the conclusion that who am I is the most fundamental introspective question therein. For everything else that can be asked presupposes self-knowledge. If I ask, what is there? A great metaphysical question. I have to presuppose, in so asking that question, that I have found myself. After all, who is asking the question? What is there? Or if I wish to know about a world, a purported world of others, of yous, Y-O-U apostrophe S, plural you, I must presuppose thereby that I know myself. For the arrival of you is contingent upon the existence of I. Likewise, if I wish to know the world, there is one more fundamental question. Who is it that wants to know the world? Everything else, God, other beings, and the world, are already outgrowths of the standpoint of the I. They all turn around the existence of the I. In which case, there can come a time when this very I, the center of all my phenomenal experience, is brought squarely into question. I become a question. I become the first question. It is only now that we can appreciate the profundity as well as the simplicity of Ramana Maharshi's practice of self-inquiry. He puts us right where we need to be, right where we can actually truly begin setting foot on the spiritual path. When we read about self-inquiry then, or hear about it, if it's the case that we have been existentially opened and even existentially ripened, then the question, who am I, can make immediate intuitive sense. The practice can nicely resonate in and through us. We're now in a position, I think, to come to the practice of self-inquiry. Throughout the course of this meditation retreat, I'll have much more to say about this practice, but we might as well start off at the idea that self-inquiry can help us move from dispersive thought to one point. Remember what it is like to begin sitting, to start off with any practice, let alone self-inquiry. What we experience are many thoughts and many emotions. The thoughts seem to keep coming helter-skelter, racing this way and that way. There seems to be no rhyme or reason. Memories seem to flood consciousness, or anticipations and plans keep grabbing a hold of conscious experience. And it seems as if wandering mind or dispersive mind or seeking mind is preeminent. Perhaps even not quite, but perhaps even impossible to set aside. This, in brief, is what in one area of his teaching, Ramana Maharshi simply calls many thoughts. Initially then, when we ask, who am I? In the presence of arising thought, we are asking about what is more fundamental than the arising and the falling of this thought. And what we may come to experience, albeit intermittently, is a resting into the one thought, as Maharshi calls it, the one thought being who, or who am I? Intermittently, therefore, it can seem as if the many thoughts about this and that, about the world, the body, and the finite mind, are subsiding due to the strength of the inquiry into who, which is a single thought. What is it then about one-pointedness that is so important in the practice of self-inquiry? This is a question that I haven't seen Ramana Maharshi answer, but it's a beautiful, important philosophical question. Consider, first of all, whatever it is that we know about the sense of myself. That sense of myself, whatever else it is, in terms of self-knowledge, the actuality of myself, surely it is simple and undivided. I have no sense of myself as being a composite, as consisting of parts. This is quite significant already. The sense I have of I am right now is not the sense of division or parceling out. In other words, the sense of myself is already, albeit inchoately, a sense of unity. This already gives us faith or confidence in the movement from many thoughts to one thought. Why? Because I am not the many thoughts. Naturally, I'm no thought at all. But I can't be found among many thoughts, among the multiplicity and diversity of contents of thought. Those are already multifarious, divided, and I am not multifarious or divided. So it is already a move in the right direction, as it were, when I can go from many thoughts about this or that to the one thought, which is who am I? You might say that that already brings me closer to myself. Consider, second of all, the privileged sight of one-pointedness, of all coming into a sense of oneness, of a concentrated oneness, of a holding still in this who am I. What makes it privileged, this one-pointedness, I mean, is that it is on the doorstep of self-knowledge. I have come to a certain kind of obsession, as it were, though it's not actually an obsession. I have learned, or I am beginning to learn, to set aside the world and the body and other beings as secondary. So it's a privileged sight in that who am I is bringing me onto the doorstep of self-knowledge. It is presenting me with a portal to my very being. I have indicated, you might say, the extent to which I am earnestly resolved to know myself by remaining in this privileged sight, in this pivot point between outside and inside, between outwardness and full inwardness. I am like a supplicant, pleading to know myself. Thus I ask, not once, not as a mantra, but with genuine, earnest resolve. Who am I, really? Consider, third of all, and in ways that I will discuss throughout the course of this retreat, how marvelous it is to ask the question, who am I? For Ramana Maharshi tells us that from this position of one-pointedness, who is a pointer to the absolute, to Brahman self itself. Am is a bridge, the bridge of identity. And I, he says, refers to the ego I, the one that is illusory but still believes itself to be finite and separate. When who am I is asked, then The question is concerned, really, Maharshi says, with what is the source of this apparently finite, separate I. In this position of one-pointedness, where everything is brought into concentrated stability, the question resonates, vibrates, and stirs, indeed pulses with the tension between the who, the source, and the I, the apparently separate subject asking the question about what it might really be. I, as an ego I, ask a question that I burn to know the answer to. Yet by virtue of asking this question pleadingly, longingly, humbly, I myself will have to dissolve in the process. In such a way, the I, the ego I, dissolving, self-inquiry likewise dissolved, leaving only what there has ever been, and that is true self-abidance. In true self-abidance, that is in Sahaja Samadhi, there is no more need for one-pointed concentration, for I am one and all.